And like I said, when I met you, I was kind of bugging that, you know, you're actually local. So let's get it going. Beginnings, like, you know, I read an article that you were, you know, doing music before you met RZA and stuff like that. So like, what were the influences early on, particularly like producing wise and stuff? How did you get started?
My pops, my uncles.
Okay.
You know, they musicians. My pops was a keyboard and bass player.
Right.
You know, my uncle's a guitar and keyboard
Right.
player. So I grew up watching them jam, like, you know, in the basement, my grandma's crib, whole band, you know what I mean? You know, jamming. So I grew up watching that. You know, and that influenced me at a young age.
And when did you start like saying I'm gonna do this? And how did it start? Was it like were you
Just messing with my father's
just playing around?
Yeah, getting on the drums. I started out wanting to play drums.
Okay.
I was a little drummer boy.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, you know, then it gradually turned into fiddling with the, you know, when my pops got the 8-track, reel-to-reel studio set, I was, you know, he would leave, I was messing with the equipment. And I would get in trouble and all that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's how, you know, my pops is good. My mom's too, as far as, you know, growing up. You know, she bathed me in music and, you know, just playing music in the household. That was an influence also.
Right.
You know what I mean? My pops is an actual musician. You know what I mean? But as far as the music that my mom always played in the house, in the home, that music influenced me.
Like what age was this? Like 10, 11, 12?
Yeah, earlier.
So then, as you started producing, like in terms of like what, like hip hop wise, where were the influences in when you started saying, okay, you weren't just messing around no more, you're making actual
beats and
hip
stuff.
hop.
I was in the roots of hip hop. I was a breakdancer.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I broke dance too. I know you get that.
The elements, no,
yeah,
of course.
Yeah, you know, so I was always ingrained.
And that's how I started too. I mean, as far as
So
everything. Yeah.
So even though I was more of a breakdancer first before I actually started taking production seriously. When breakdancing kind of started to fade out, that's when brothers started getting into DJing and producing.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, you know, Christmas, I would get a turntable. Birthday, I get another piece.
Right, okay.
Another Christmas, get another turntable. Birthday, get a mixer. So that's how pieces started to form. Get a stereo for Christmas. You know what I mean? So I started out with a stereo and one turntable.
A stereo and one turntable.
And I used to mix. I had a double cassette stereo.
Okay.
So I used to pause mix. I don't know if it.
Of course, yeah, no doubt. No,
So
I mean that's.
this is early
That's
80s.
what I'm saying.
This is like 80,
Like
81, 82 type stuff. You know what I mean? 83.
It's 40 plus crowd topic here. For real.
Yeah. Yeah, you started out pause mixing. I didn't have 2 turntables, so that's how I had to do things.
Right.
So that forced me to get more creative, technically, because I had less things. You know, that's another thing. I had less to work with. So back then, when we had less to work with, I think that's what made us a little more creative. And when we finally got the big boy toys, you know what I mean? It opened up.
Let's go there for a minute, man. We're gonna jump. I'm gonna go right there because it's a topic that's come up on my page a few times in terms of like, and we're kind of skipping in terms of technology, like in terms of the tools, Serato, this, whatever. You know, what's your opinion on that? Because you just made a good point and something I said. Like, there's no problem for me. This is my personal opinion. There's no problem with having tools and having the technology. It's gonna come. It'll make things quicker. But you should know the foundations of whatever your craft is, whether it's designing stuff, whether it's making music or whatever. I feel like, so can you talk on a little bit on that? Because you kind of were going in it. I wanted to see what I'm saying. So, in terms of technology being out in 2019, Serato, whatever technology there is to use for making beats, that's like advanced things, maybe quicker, maybe easier to match beats, all that type of stuff. I'm not you just said that like you had nothing. So it forced you to be creative, it forced you to get really good, develop a good ear and everything like that. So my point is just that like I feel like there's nothing wrong with the technology, but you need to know the foundations of whatever it is, whatever craft it is you're doing.
If I ever opened up a school, I would teach them the foundations. I would teach them things like cosmics and things like that first, so they can have an idea of, you know, more foundation of the original structure. Because I think that would, you know, a lot of producers, like the technology is good, don't get me wrong, but I think the people who had that type of foundation know how to take advantage of these things more better. You know what I mean? If they stay on top of the technology. You got some people they, you know, from our, you know, my background, they can't get with that. They're still stuck in the analog or SP12. Ain't nothing wrong with that because they're still making dope shit on it. You know what I mean? But you know, some people just can't get with the new wave.
Right.
You know, I was against the new wave for a while. You know, I use Reason now. I've been using that for some time now. But I remember in the studio, when we was doing the last Kill Army album, the engineer Choco, he introduced Reason to me. He was like, "Well, check this out." I was like, "Yeah, that's alright, it's kinda alright." I still wasn't with it.
Right.
And then maybe 2 3 years after that, I started using it. And once I started using it, I sold my MPC. I was using the MPC. Well, I was using it. My first machine was the Roland W30. That's what all of the first Kill Army album was made on that, and then a little bit of the Kurzweil when I upgraded to the Kurzweil VX 2000.
Right.
So a little bit of the first album is a little bit of the Kurzweil because I just got the Kurzweil. But a lot of the Solid Weapons from Quiet War, most of them beats is the Roland W30. That's the same keyboard Eric Sherman used to use back in the day. So like all the EPMD shit and all, he was using that. So yeah, once I upgraded to that, you know, yeah, like, you know, it's to each his own too, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's what you're comfortable with too. It's like even with the dolls and, you know, it's all these wars of which one you want to use. Pro Tools, Reaper, or Logic, or whatever. It's, you know, it's what you're comfortable with. I'll use Pro Tools, because that's what I'm comfortable with. And when I go in most studios I go, that's what they got.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, you know, it's you know, the foundation is important, but like I said, it's to each his own. It's like I said, so a lot of people that come from the foundation can't get with the technology. You know, I know people that they still, and I want to get like that too as a controller for the reason where you ain't even gotta look at the screen at all.
Right.
I want to take it back to that because that was a hindrance for me when I made the switch to making beats on the computer. It was hard transitioning from just looking at things like this, always looking down, and all your controls is right here at your fingertips. Now I have to do this, click the mouse, look up. You know what I mean?
That was even a shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, just even where your hands. Where you place your hands.
Yeah, but that also it slowed down the creative process.
Right.
You know, put a little jiggle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. We're gonna take a quick second. We're gonna check the IG feed. What up, y'all? We got Fourth Disciple in the building. I think we good. Word. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that for me because you were already going there. So let's go back. So all this music is happening. You're in hip hop, you're b-boying and stuff, and this is happening where? In Steubenville, Ohio. So y'all look at me, man. My mouth is dropping. All right. So what was? There was clearly a vibe out there.
That's hometown.
That's clear. There's clearly a vibe out there. That's about, for everybody that doesn't know, it's like what 40 minutes away from Pittsburgh. We're in Pittsburgh, about 40 minutes outside of Pittsburgh, in Ohio. All right. So you're doing music already. take me to like RZA and stuff like that. I read somewhere that you had already known his brother, I think Freedom or something like that. So let's go there to like just, you know, that and then to Kill Army, you know.
Well, like you said, you know, through Freedom, I went to high school with Freedom.
Okay.
So we was in the same high school.
That's RZA's brother, right?
Yeah. So, you know, RZA had always been coming through, but you know, he was on the low. You know, he would come and check his family out and bounce. He ain't know nobody, you know what I mean, with his family. So when, you know, his brother had told him that, you know, there was a crowd of people, you know, a group of brothers who were seeking knowledge, you know what I mean? 'Cause we were seeking knowledge itself at the time.
Had Wu-Tang even been formed yet?
Didn't exist.
Right.
You know. So we were seeking knowledge at the time, you know, wherever we could get it. We was mainly into like the basic things like the Black history stuff, you know, in the beginning, like the Marcus Garvey,
Right.
you know, the Elijah Muhammad, learning, you know, different things, you know, the kind of basic stuff, but we didn't have no access out there to no lessons, none of the material,
Right.
no kind of. So wherever we can get it, we're going to the library every day, getting books and just, you know, just.
There's no internet.
So we
nothing
would just
like
all, whatever information anybody would get, we would gather, put it on the table, talk about it. Everybody would talk about what information they could get. We exchange it, you know, different things like that. And we had a little study group that formed a study group.
that. Okay.
So Freedom ended up, I invited him to the study group. Because when I met him, we had gym class together. And I seen he had the universal flag drawn on his book bag. You know, and I was like, you don't know nothing about that. He's like, you don't know nothing about that. You know what I mean? So we built a relationship from there.
Right.
And he showed me lessons. I'm like, yo, so, you know what I mean? Like, damn, this is what I'm looking for. You know what I mean? So I invited him to the study group. He came and, you know, he added on and, you know, so he started coming.
Okay.
So when RZA came in town, yeah, told RZA to come through. So RZA came through, that's when we met RZA. That's when basically we all, you know, came into the knowledge itself. We got the 5% lessons, you know, from there. You know, he gave them to, he enlightened us, you know what I mean?
So then you build it with RZA, and then
He didn't even know I did music.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
It was just
It was all knowledge.
Just on building.
Yeah.
So then how did the music come out of it after that?
So later on, you know, he realized out there he came to my crib, you know, because I was in a, you know, advanced, you know, one of the advanced learners.
So in what year is this?
It's probably like 88, 89,
Okay.
something like that. Late 88 or early 89.
Okay, well,
You know, I was about 14.
You were about 14.
Yeah,
Okay.
about 14.
Wow. All right. So you're doing music. Was RZA, in terms of like the early stages, you know, was RZA totally just training you on stuff? I mean, or how was
Not on music.
Not on music. So let's go to Kill Army. How did that all come about in terms of actually? What I read was that you're like the only other producer on the 36 Chambers album. I think you mixed some things, or were you doing some scratching on the 36
Did
Chambers?
a little bit of co-mixing, like a little bit of background vocals on a skit. Just a little bit, you know, not really, not serious, you know what I mean?
And let's jump to Kill Army. How did Kill Army come about? I've read nothing about that.
Kill Army is a saga in itself.
Let's go Kill Army. We just get no.
But originally, I didn't even want to do Kill Army, to be truthful. If it wasn't for General Wise, I probably wouldn't have even did the Kill Army thing. You know, the Kill Army thing was just something that had to be developed. It wasn't something that was just already, You know, Killer Sin wasn't even in the picture when Kill Army was first formed, nor Don Pacino. It was just Beretta 9, Shogun Assassin, Knife Prince, and Islam. You know, and we was all in Ohio together. So Don Pacino and Killer Sin.
They're all from who's from Ohio, who's from New York?
Shogun and Beretta 9
Or from
Ohio.
Alright.
But Islord had family out there too.
It's Louisville.
Yeah. So he was out there. He went to high school with us too. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
In Steubenville! I keep saying the name, yo. It's just crazy, yo. Alright, so what's the thought process, man? I mean, like, because there's a distinct. First of all, I mean, like, Kill Army was the group in terms of, you know, Kill Army, Sons of Man were the groups in terms of the affiliates, I guess, if you will. I mean, it's been said, it's been stated. I mean, what was the thought process in terms of the vibe? Like, it's a, you know, all the military shit, you know, what was going on there? I mean, the lyrics are different. It's not just like some woo light.
Well, we tried to do things different. We didn't really want to use all the kung fu flick stuff, and you know what I mean. We wanted to have a different approach, but still, you could tell, you know, it was still from a branch off the tree. You know what I mean? But we wanted to have our own brand and niche to it, so we incorporated the military things. Even when we sampled like some kung fu skit or whatever, it was still military. You know what I mean?
So, the first joint was that you did for them was what? The first, Silent.
First album?
Yeah.
Yeah. Silent Weapons from Quiet War.
Excuse me.
The first song we actually recorded, those songs didn't even make the album though. But one of the earliest songs, we had a song called Trey Pound, and we had a song called Madman. That was Knife Prince, his solo song. And what was another song? And Seems It Never Fails.
Now look, when Kill Army.
Seems It Never Fails song, that song that on the Silent Weapon.
Yes, yes.
That was recorded. That was one of the first songs we ever recorded.
Word.
That was like one of the, you know, when we first started recording in my grandma's basement, the same basement my pops and them used to jam in, mind you. It's the same basement we in now recording, you know.
Wow, generational thing.
Yeah.
And so, how were you guys connecting? Like, were they they were starting to come out to New York, out to Ohio? Were you going to New York? Like, what was?
None of that didn't happen until later.
But I mean, in terms of,
I didn't meet Killer Sin until a while, till like we was actually working on the Silent Weapons album. You know, when we put this, we actually went to go work on it. Okay, we're gonna work on the Silent Weapons album.
You went to New York,
but we already had certain songs already recorded that we did, like, you know, like Seems It Never Fails, made it on the album. You know, that was one of the songs.
That was already done.
Yeah, exactly. So Killer Sin, like I said, Don Pacino came in the picture a little sooner. You know, Killer Sin more so. Knife Prince brought Killer Sin in. You know, Power.
The Knife Prince is RZA's
brother.
Okay.
So Power had put me and Killer Sin in the studio together to see what could come out of that. So what that ended up happening is basically he ended up coming over to Kill Army. But me
and Killer Sin, he's a beast.
Me and Killer Sin got couple songs that we did that's lost. That's heat, that's fire.
I don't want to know. If it ain't that, I don't even want to know, man.
This is
I don't even want to know. Let me check the IG. We in the building with Fourth Disciple. Where we good? Peace. I think we're good. Hopefully you think it's straight. So, yeah, Killer Sin is a monster, man. He was
Free Killer Sin.
he was a monster. He was an absolute Terminator on the mic, man.
Yes, he was. Yes, he is.
Yes,
He
yeah.
is.
So, yeah, I'm saying. So it's all right. Is Kill Army still technically a group? What's your involvement? I mean, is that anything? I mean, I hear stuff, I see stuff, but like,
Here's stuff you see.
you know, you see a social. I mean, like it's Killer.
Kill Army's a brand, man. You know, it's it's a brand. You know, but my opinion is that we haven't capitalized off the brand. It's a shame we haven't done that. You know what I mean? And right now I think it would be a better idea instead of going to get in the studio and doing an album. It would be a better idea for brothers to go on tour. Reconnect with the fan base. And a lot of us ain't seen or talked to each other in years, so a lot didn't happen over the years.
There's no animosity. These guys just ain't this, or is this guy just ain't just doing their own thing?
Just we're here doing
it's
here,
living.
and I'm doing what I do. You know what I
Everybody's
mean?
living.
So
you wouldn't be opposed to doing something, though? I mean, would you, or I should say, I'll ask you, would you be opposed to like Kill Army going on tour, Kill Army doing something?
I actually suggested Kill Army go on tour. You know what I mean? As far as doing an album, the conditions gotta be right. The conditions gotta be right. You know what I mean? I think it's wise. That's beneficial for everyone right now to go on tour.
Right.
Like I said, reconnect with the fan base. Reconnect with each other. See where each other's head is at before we talking about doing an album. I think that's the wise, direction to go. Then after that, we could talk about doing an album. Brothers go on tour, the fan base is back familiar, they see we together again. You know what I mean? It makes it easier then to put out an album.
That's true.
You get more support then.
That's true. Definitely makes sense. Definitely makes sense. So, were you in New York at this time? Did you move? I mean, or like,
At what time?
well, during the Kill Army days. I mean,
Back and forth.
you were just back and forth. And then, so you were also doing stuff, producing for, you started doing some producing for the Clan.
Clan, Sons of Man, can't forget that, Killer Priest.
Did you do the entire Sons of Man album? Or?
Nah,
Oh,
probably like four or five songs.
Okay.
Killer Priest, I did a few tracks.
Yeah. Some classic joints on both of those, and you did some stuff on Raekwon's, right, on Cuban Links too, right?
I did some co-producing.
Co-producing in there,
Did
right?
some mixing on there, a little bit of co-engineering, and co-mixing.
Gotcha. Do you have like a crazy, wild woo story, or did you stay away from all that?
Nothing I could really think off the bat. Nothing I could really think of off the bat. You know what I mean? There's a lot of shit that happened. A lot of crazy shit.
It ain't something. Yeah, throw me a bone.
I don't know.
Alright, well,
Okay.
I'm gonna go back. You got asterisks there, crazy.
Maybe something will come.
Crazy will
surface.
Alright, so let's jump to. Well, we'll come back to this one. What influences is any producers out there? Anybody that influenced your sound in terms of
Influenced my sound,
in terms of
or that give me inspiration or something.
well, anything like that. Well, other than I'm assuming RZA influenced your sound to a certain extent. So, or other than
Yeah, because like I said in a previous interview, it's like a lot of the samples I wouldn't have been aware of, like the soul collections, all of that, like and all the soulful stuff, and I probably wouldn't have known about all that, or I found it out after later.
Right.
You know, it gave me a certain area with sound, with stuff to look for. You know what I mean? So, you know, I like to listen to all types of stuff actually. You know, not just soul. I listen to rock. You know, a lot of my dope stuff be from rock. You know, what I mean? From rock tracks, psychedelic rock.
Right,
You know, I love that shit. I love it.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Nah, it's good. There's a lot more music than hip hop out there, and like.
I mean, as far as what I would, you know, I'm giving a little.
Oh yeah, you're giving a little gem.
You know, but that's what I be, you know, I like to listen to as far as sound. Like, you know what I mean? The rock.
Yeah, so you got a little gem for Fourth Disciple. We kind of talked a little bit about it. How's the production changed today? Like, I mean, it seems like anybody and their mom can produce now.
Yeah, because, you know, like
on their phone.
Exactly. They got the MPC on the iPad, on the iPhone. Fully functional. You can sample and everything. Yeah. You know, it's dope. You know what I mean? It's convenient.
Right.
You know, but like you said, it's easier. Because, you know, with certain programs, you can the steps. You just hit the dots. You program it like that. It's like old school drum machines where it's like the step type. You know, put the dots where you want it, and that's where the kick snare hit. So, you know, if you can program a rhythm, you don't gotta get on the keys and have a rhythm, or get on the pads. And, you know what I mean? Like you gotta be on the MPC, or you know, and do the rhythm yourself.
Right.
You just program it. Hit the dot, triple it up. Okay, want the breakdown here, switch sequence. You know what I mean?
Swipe it on
and then hit play, and then just play it back for you. You know what I mean? It's like the piano with the roll thing, with the dots. You know, put a different thing in. You want to play a different song.
Right.
It's the same type of concept. You know, but when you're doing this, when you're doing it on here, you're making those dots.
Right.
You're not. It's not static. You know, you making a rhythm. You know.
So you don't have an issue with it then? I mean, it's not like it's just like
everybody got their stage of development.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I said, I would rather somebody go. That is kind of foundational though too at the same time, because old school drum machines, that's how they were. You had to program them like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like how old Boss, I think it was a dude, Dr. Rhythm, low pocket type joint, old school drum machine. That's how that was. You program it with the dots, the same thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? When they advanced, they got better, but you know, the DMXs and things like that was expensive back in the day. You know,
and it's
still expensive.
Well, like, I mean, is it
the Lend drums and all of that?
It's all expensive still.
Yeah, it's still expensive.
Is it harder? I mean, is it easier for you to work with? It seems like it would be easier to work with artists though, because they can email a verse or something now, or is that?
Yeah, but that's all right. It's convenient, but to me, it took away some of the magic.
That's what I was saying. They said in a prior interview I did with him.
Yeah, it took away some of the magic,
right.
Man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, back in the day, I would be making a beat, and brothers would be behind me on the side of me writing, and that would inspire me. You know what I mean? It would give me energy and a vibe. And I might hear somebody on the side saying, and I hear how their flow bouncing. I might give me I might put a little twinkle or something on top of something that's bouncing in the house. Like, oh, he gave me a little, okay. We was feeding off of each other. You know what I mean? Now it ain't, you know, it's just too, it's robotic now.
I mean, do you ever lay tracks down in the studio with somebody? Or is it all basically, check the Dropbox?
The last time I did it was with PD and Sean P.
Okay.
You know, Deck was in the studio with us with Sean P. You know, You know, but yeah, you know, I do it, but for the most part, everybody want you know, nail me the beat, and then I don't like say if I don't like it, then you know, then that be an issue sometimes because of egos.
Oh, if you don't like the joint, they spit on it.
Yeah, you know what I mean, because I'm not there to tell you, nah, do something else, so you didn't have to even, you know, save time if we together.
Right.
Because I'm gonna tell you right from the jump, like when you're writing it, or you know, you're a few lines in and you come to me, or you know what I mean, you spitting it, and I hear how it's bouncing to the beat, and it's like, nah, that ain't the one.
Right.
And you ain't gotta waste time writing, keep writing. You can
Right.
just start fresh on a,
You wrote a whole verse.
or switch to your notepad to another one.
Right.
You know, like when me and Razor got together and did Freedom of Speech, we did that album in a weekend.
We got Hellraiser. Yeah.
One weekend, you know what I mean? He had his notepad, he had notebooks with verses and just hooks. You know, he was just shifting through stuff. Yeah, I put the beat on, just shifting, trying to find the verse that match up. Boom, boom, he kick it to me, yeah, boom, lay it down. Boom, boom, find the second verse, lay it down, find a hook. Or if he couldn't find a hook, he could write one. We did it in a weekend.
Let's go.
We did that in a weekend.
Let's
man.
go. That's
Word.
dope. That's dope. Yeah, so I can see how, yeah, so, you know, with technology comes other inconveniences. It comes, you lose something sometimes usually, so it's a good point. You're like, you know, because I was talking to El Sensei, he was telling me that inside Sadat X has dropped a joint recently, and he did it all in the studio. He said it was different. You know what I mean? He got like 22 tracks in the studio. It was different vibe, producer, everything. It was a team effort. The whole thing was, you know, like organic and stuff. So it makes sense. It makes sense that that's the, you know, that would be. You lose a little bit, but then at the same time, flip side, you can get a verse from somebody across the country.
Yeah, it's more it's convenient. Now it's, you know, it's understandable, you know, when it's like that.
Like,
you know, there's no way, okay, damn, we can't get, we ain't gonna be able to,
right.
to connect.
Opposite coast or whatever. We're talking about the LA. We're talking
Yeah,
about
we'll be waiting forever till I come to LA. So in times like that, yeah, it's convenient, but then still, I'll be waiting forever for that.
Yeah, you were telling me. Yeah, that hip hop time is like dog years, man. That hip hop time is crazy.
Man.
In the building with Fourth Disciple, Rap FM. Yo, yeah, the hip hop time is totally wild. So, so